for a little while. I'm going to be out and about trying to win a bracelet or win some money. I'd rather just win money. So we're going to be, what's it called? We're going to be running replays of some of my favorite episodes of A Little Coffee from the past. So there'll still be something here for you bright and early, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I'll be back when I'm back. Today, we're going to be going through a student's hand history. This is from a Sit&Go. I actually do not know the buy-in of this. It doesn't really matter all that much. We're going to try to get through all the hands over the course of the next hour. If we go a little bit long, I suppose that's okay. So, let's get right to it. In Sit&Go's, they pay out 3 places, okay? So essentially, if you take 4th place, you get nothing. If you take 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, you get something. I'm going to presume a normal payout of 50% of the money goes to 1st, 30% goes to 2nd, 20% goes to 3rd. Whether or not that's actually what this exact Sit&Go is, that's going to help us discuss the common Sit&Go structure you're likely to play. All right, so we're playing with an ante right off the bat. Some Sit&Go's will not have an ante right off the bat, which generally makes you play just a little bit tighter across the board. We raise, we'll make a small C-bet on the flop, pick it up. Nice and easy. I'm not going to go through all the very irrelevant hands. Queen Jack offsuit, I think it's loose to play, but you can certainly play it if you'd like. If anyone has any questions, let me know, by the way. If you like me reviewing students' hand histories, we're having a summer sale going on right now. Check it out at pokercoaching.com/summer. There I have 2 giant series where I go through students' hand histories and essentially help them become good. One of them is a guy, Blas Zerjau, who turned $5 into $1.3 million. Another one is Nickel Segel, who got a PokerStars Platinum pass, a $25,000 pass, for getting his life in shape. He was in very, very bad shape and got in shape. Jamie Staples gave him $25,000 to go play. He doubled up on day 1 of the tournament with no risk, then lost 2 flips on day 2 to lose. So what can you do? But I coached both of them through back and forth hand history reviews, and it worked out pretty great. You have a family member at Logitech. Can you email them and ask for webcam improvement tips? Sure. I have the, what's this thing called? I have the one that everybody has. It's not the super expensive one. It costs like, I don't know, $100 or something. I'm sure you know what I mean. I would show it to you, but it's hard to show you the camera, through the camera. All right. All right. What's happening in this hand? Small blind limps. We can raise or check. One play I started making, just to really maximize turn and river fold equity, is to raise small from the big blind. This is something I literally never did in the past, but I've been observing some of the best players in the world playing in these small and medium stakes games, making exploitative plays to crush the player pool. Seems like some of them like raising to about 2.5 or 3 big blinds here, knowing you're going to get called almost every time. You're going to make a continuation bet on the flop, knowing you're going to get called almost every time. And then you bet the turn and the river. And that's where you're going to start to get a lot of fold equity. So using relatively small bets on the early rounds will usually lead to you having more fold equity on the later rounds. All right. Anyway, you check. Opponent checks flop. I would just min bet here. Whenever you're in the big blind, it goes limp check. When your opponent checks a flop, just min bet. You're going to win the pot a lot. Way more than you'd think. Like now, your opponent kind of has control of the hand, right? He bets turn, you call. Do you bluff river? Probably not. And notice, like right here, if you bet river, he's never folding a 6, he's never folding a 2, he's never folding a 10. Whereas if you just bet flop, bet turn, bet river, the 2's probably going to fold. The 6 very likely could fold. And that's going to put the opponents in pretty bad spots. Could we bet big on the river? No, we're not betting big on the river. If he has any pair, he's not folding. If I bet, and what is big? There's 5 big blinds in the pot. Anyway, queen 8, right? This is a disaster because clearly this hand could have been won just by a little bit of aggression. I know it doesn't sound like much, but this is a scenario where we just want to just bet minimum on the flop and go from there. Ryan's saying to bet big on the flop to try to get him to fold everything. No one's folding a pair. And also, you want to bet small on the flop, because if you bet big on the flop, then you're going to really lack fold equity on the turn and the river. You have to understand, winning the pot does not matter. Your goal is to win money. And the thing is when you win a 2 big blind pot or a 3 big blind pot, yeah, it's fine, but wouldn't you rather win a 5 big blind pot or an 8 big blind pot when you have a lot of turn and river fold equity? A lot of people think the goal is to just steal the pot immediately, but that's not necessarily the goal. Because whenever you use a big flop bet, now when you do get called, you're hating life. And when you try to bet the turn and river, you're betting into a much stronger range. You'd much rather be bluffing into a much weaker range. What value do we give to unknown opponents? I'm not sure what you mean, Natty. 35 Marlins is no longer a break-even player. Congrats. Good job. Good work. 4.4 big blind raise. I mean, I would just fold A7 suited. All right, so the blinds went up. As you see, everybody just went from 100 big blinds to 60. That's great. Here we have a limp. I would make it 4.5 big blinds or so. So look, this is kind of similar logic in this scenario where essentially when we raise this to this size, we know we completely lack fold equity, but we're going to be able to play very well post-flop. And I think that's fine. My issue is that when we make it 3.5 big blinds or so, we're going to get calls from the players yet to act a lot, which is like not the end of the world, but it's also not exactly what we want. We'd much rather just play a pot in position against the initial limper. So I'd probably make it just 4 or 4.5 big blinds in this scenario, especially when there's an ante in play. It's like right now we got 2 callers, and if we miss the flop, we just can't go too insane, right? 23 smooth criminal. Well, if you sign up to poker coaching, maybe you won't have to be a criminal anymore. We have a summer sale going on right now. You can get a discount if you sign up for a year. Check it out at pokercoaching.com/summer. We do one big sale every summer. This is it. Get in there, sign up, and work hard. All right, this guy limped and then led into us. I mean, seems like a fine spot to just call to me. If we raise, yeah, we're going to get a lot of money in the pot. But I think it's better to call and keep the guy in with all of his garbage. He bets the turn. Easy call again. You don't want to raise now because whatever the guy has is drawing thin to dead. He checks river. The problem here is that either he has just like nothing, like queen jack, or he has a 9 that's probably going to fold to any reasonable bet, or he has a king. Probably doesn't have a king, though. So this is one of these spots where if you think he does have a lot of kings for whatever reason, you should definitely just go all in because he's never folding for a pot-sized bet. If you think he has a lot of 9x or worse, I think the right place to go really small. And funny enough, I think given the river is an ace, which is a terrible river for his 9s, I think you want to bet tiny. And when I say tiny, I mean like 6 big blinds. That's going to give him plenty of room to get ridiculous if he does have queen jack or 9-8. I'm sorry, queen jack or 8-7, something like that decides to bluff. And he's going to call the 9 if you bet 6 big blinds. So you, like in theory, if you were just trying to get value from the 9, you'd want to bet more like 8 or 10 big blinds. But because I think we're not sure if he has a 9x or just total error, we want to give him every chance to do something dumb. So I think a 6 big blind bet is very nice. You go 16. I hate this bet size. This is essentially going to force him to fold out the 9s. And you're just going to get called by a king now, which is not great. You'd much rather get all the money against a king, right? And if he does have an ace, he's going to call, but that's kind of unlikely too. Anyway, he does call. Do we get to see what he had? Let's see. He had ace-9, so he did river an ace. So you got a bit lucky that he had exactly the one sporadic hand that you can get value from here. But as you see, he did just have a 9 going to the river, right? And if, like, say he had queen-9, do you really think he's calling 16 big blinds on the river with a 9? I don't think so. I mean, it'd be a horrible call, I think. Let's see. Yeah, 23 smooth criminal. I would prefer you not to go back to jail. JL is so bad, wow. Hello, Be Like Berkey. Welcome. Hope you're having a great day. These are not my hands, by the way. That should be clear. These are someone's hand histories. One of you. You submitted these for me to review. So here we are. We have a raise to 2.5. We have pretty easy call, I think. Do players send their hand history to review for them to find their leaks for dollars? Yes, they certainly can. We have all of the coaching options available at pokercoaching.com in the tool section. At the bottom is you can submit. You can get information from any of our coaches. A lot of our coaches do private coaching, and so that's available. I'm doing this one for free, though, because I figured all of you would enjoy seeing a Sit&Go hand history review, given it seems like a lot of you have been asking about Sit&Gos, and I don't make a whole lot of content on Sit&Gos. All right. So, in this scenario, I think we can check call, check raise, either play is fine. As you are playing against later and later position, you probably want to be raising more often with your strong made hands and draws in this scenario, just because the opponent's range is generally going to be weaker. So, like, if you told me you want to just check raise this and get it in, I'm okay with that. Check calling is also fine. It's like, whatever. You can do whatever you want. This King 10 is probably good enough to check raise if you're also going to be check raising stuff like King 9 and 9-6, like pretty bad draws, which I think is certainly viable. If you do check raise this, you have to essentially get it all in. Finally got a day off from your job, Kevin. Congrats. 23 Smooth says, you're not going back. Good job. I know, I mean, look, I've done plenty of bad stuff in my life, and I've righted my ways like a criminal, I suppose. And I can tell you that doing the right thing, adding value to people is way better than, well, worrying about having to go to jail. You don't want to do that. Just make good decisions, help other people, add value, and life will be great. Often won't lead you getting rich quick or anything, but you're making the world a better place. All right, here we have a spot where we have a pretty easy call again. River's pretty nasty if he bets. Yeah, yuck. I mean, look, I just call here every time. This is one of these spots that really screams like Queen X, right? Pot odds exist, though. I mean, the guy could just be value betting Jack 10, 10-9. Could be value betting a random 8 poorly. Could be sporadically bluffing. I mean, look, this is one of these scenarios where as your opponents are just more and more face up, as they're more and more face up, you should probably fold. I know that sounds very nitty. But if this is a smaller stakes games against a really straightforward player, folding is probably viable. I mean, against anyone normal, I'd never fold, though. Or Sit&Go's good practice for final tables. I mean, they're like better than cash games, right? That said, someone on Twitter just posted today, what about the idea of a Sit&Go where you buy in and then everybody has between like 5 and 20 big blinds picked randomly. And then they pay out like 8 or 9 people at the table, right? Like almost everyone gets paid. So then it really is just a straight simulation of a final table. I would love that. That would be fantastic. That would really be a good practice. I mean, a lot of people, they'd buy in like 6 times in a row and get the 5 big blind stack and cry that it's rigged, but like, I'd play those all day, every day. That would be amazing practice. What's the best role to build your bankroll? Sit down and play a ton. If you play $10 or $25 no limit, I highly suggest you get in there and grind hard. Grind a lot. A lot of people don't want to grind a lot. A lot of people want to grind 1 hour a week. You're not going to get rich doing anything for 1 hour a week. Unless it's crime, of course. Then you may have to go to jail. But I don't want you to go to jail. All right, so anyway, we fold here on the river, and if the opponent's really bad, I think you can fold. Why would the opponent bet small on the river with a queen? Because that's how a lot of people operate. They want to get value. They think you have a 10 or worse. And if you have a 10 or worse, you're probably not going to be calling a big bet. So in their minds, the only bet size that makes sense is a small bet. I would call. I would definitely not lead. The times you want to lead are when you have the range and nut advantage. I'm not really sure that's the case. Actually, this isn't a lead. I'm sorry, I'm confused. Too busy reading the chat. Or cash, can you build money at a bankroll in cash games due to the high rake? Sure. Why not? Well, your problem is you're not winning any money. You're winning at 2 per 100. You need to get better at poker. You ideally want to have something like an 8 to 10 big blind per 100, right? So if you're not winning in the game, yeah, you should find a different game. And to be fair, maybe the game you're playing on, and maybe it is tough, and maybe the rake's too high. I don't know. Experiment. Understand, whenever you're starting off playing small stakes, you're not playing for money at the moment. You're playing to get experience and see what you can win at. Find a game you can beat and play it a ton. Period. That's all you got to do to win. I made a lot of money playing Sit&Gos. I turned $50 into $350K when I was young because I found these, and then I played them all day, every day. Literally all day, every day for about 3 years. And we turned the $50 into $350,000 just by grinding hard. No big scores. Wasn't even possible to have a big score because I could only win 5 buy-ins at a time, right? But we did that by putting in volume. Volume cures variance, and if you have an edge, that edge will become very clear in the long run. Okay, so this is a limp pot. hijack limps, small blind limps, we limp. Big blind, we limp, small blind, big blind limps. Flop comes queen, 8, 5. We decide to bet out. This is fine. I'm okay with this. If this was a raised pot, I would not bet, but in a limp pot, you do want to be more inclined to bet with your good, strong value hands that don't mind protection, which, you know, queen jack on queen 8, 5 certainly doesn't mind that. So this is a scenario where I like a 3 big blind bet or so, given there is a flush draw available. Turns a 9. You can keep betting. This is one of these spots in against weaker players. You can just keep betting with the idea that you're going to fold if you get raised. If you check, though, you have an easy check call. River's an ace, check, check, we're going to win. Wish this would show me what they have at the showdown. Opponent has queen 6, brutal, as you see again. If we just bet bigger on the turn, we would have got more money in the pot. So that's pretty unfortunate. When I started with $50, what did I play? I played 25-cent, 50-cent limit hold'em. Back then, no limit hold'em was not really popular. But I very quickly moved to sit-and-goes once I got, I don't know, 10,000 bucks or so from limit. It's a long story. I have a pokerography episode. Search jonathanlittlepoker.com/pokerography. It'll come right up. You'll see my life story, up until some point at least. How many 180-person sit-and-goes do you need to see your real ROI? You never actually know your real ROI because it's constantly in flux. But if you play, I don't know, 5,000 of them, that's probably plenty. ROI is very, very hard to know somewhat specifically. Like even in 9-person sit-and-goes, you probably need 2,500, 3,000, I don't know, to know it within a solid amount of certainty. But like, who cares, right? If you're playing and your ROI that you're observing over 1,000 games or 500 games is like 8%, it's probably gonna be somewhere between like 3% and 13%. So you're fine, right? But if you play 1,000 of them and you're break even, well, now you're somewhere between a small loser and small winner. That's not good. All right. Sit-and-goes are soft in the small stakes. They're impossible at the high stakes. Or close enough to impossible. All right. We raise ace-9 offsuit. Someone calls. We bet small and flop. He folds. That's good. That's just your bread and butter default play. This is a big mistake. Button raises, even though he's tight. Small blind calls. We have 9-7 offsuit in the big blind. We have to put in 1 big blind to win a 6.7 big blind pot. This is just a very, very trivially easy call. You must call the 9-7 offsuit. You're usually going to lose the hand, but that's okay. Spin-and-goes are high variance, low edge. Well, just like regular sit-and-goes. However, I would generally recommend against playing spin-and-goes. I know they're profitable. I know a lot of degenerates play them, but they're like multi-table tournaments, but slightly worse. Because in regular sit-and-go, your bankroll trickles up. In a spin-and-go, your bankroll trickles down. Why? Because you only get paid when you hit like 1,000 times buy and spin when you win. So you get paid, I don't know how often that comes, like 1 in 10,000 games or something. So 1 in 10,000 games, you're 1 in 3 to win a bunch of money. That's not really where you want to be. You're going to be down. I mean, it's like a multi-table tournament, but nastier. Why is 9-7 offsuit a call there? Because we're putting in 1 big blind to try to win 6. What's the bottom we call there in the big blind? Any connected hand for sure. Like 7-4 offsuit, I still probably defend. I mean, you got to realize you can defend very wide whenever you're putting in 1 to win 6 or 7. It's just fine. What do you expect the long-term EV to be with 9-7 offsuit multi-way? I don't know the long-term EV. I know it's going to be profitable though. We have substantial data showing that you can defend almost any 2 cards against a button raise. Heads up, 3 ways you should defend slightly tighter with hands that are very likely to be dominated, but 9-7 offsuit's not one of those. Like, you want to be tighter with stuff like Queen 2 offsuit. How does ICM change your big blind defending ranges? A lot. Is it possible to grow a bankroll from the micro stakes? Yes. And spin-and-goes, you're 99% likely to have an 80 buy and downswing. Of course you are. Probably more. I mean, seriously, probably like 300 buy and downswing is going to be normal. But I mean, hey, you got to know what you sign up for. Check call middle pair. Check, check. Fold to river bet. That's fine. I know if you're listening to this, this may not be the best experience. Head over to youtube.com/pokercoaching to watch this hand history review. Just flicking through the hands that are relevant. If anything relevant happens, I'll try to list all the cards, of course. Should probably say that earlier than 22 minutes into the show. But that's okay. Do reverse implied odds matter when you're defending the big blind with junk? Yeah, that's why you don't play the Queen 2 offsuit, but 9-7 offsuit's not terrible. If you're folding way too often from the blinds, you're just going to get demolished. Like, you cannot win. You cannot win. You're going to have a very difficult time winning at medium or high stakes poker if you don't defend your blinds properly. We discussed that thoroughly at Poker Coaching in well, really a lot of our courses are designed to discuss that. I know Matt Affleck and Michael Acevedo both have lots and lots of content available in the classes for defending the blinds, especially with medium and shallow stacks, which is where a lot of people really do it wrong. And you can get a discount for that now, pokercoaching.com/summer. Check it out. All right, 2 big blind raise, easy call. Queen Jack suited in the big blind. 7-3-3, I would just give up. Turns a king, I would still just give up. It's fine. Ace-5 offsuit on the button. I would raise it if they fold to me, but people raise in front of us. Ooh, looks like we raised the 9-8 offsuit in the cutoff. This is loose. So in this scenario, looking at these heads-up display stats, we see the big blind and the small blind and the button are all very tight. Okay? All these players are very tight. Given that's the case, I think it's probably okay to get a little bit out of line. Normally, you don't want to be raising too wide into 10 and 15 and 20 big blind stacks because they're just going to rip it in on you. But in this instance, I can get behind raising because all 3 players yet to act are very tight. If you're new to heads-up displays, I have a webpage for you to go to pokercoaching.com/HUD. You can get this heads-up display for free. I mean, you got to buy Hold'em Manager, but I'll give you the settings for free. So check that out at pokercoaching.com/HUD. There's a lot of content on Poker Coaching, indeed. What course should I recommend for a micro stakes cash game player? The Cash Game Masterclass, by a mile. So we do raise, everybody folds, that's good. That's a spot where like normally you would fold the 9-8 in the cutoff, but if you look around and the players yet to act are all very tight, it's fine to raise. All right, small blind limps here, you have 9-3 offsuit. This is one of these spots where, again, I think you could strongly consider just raising to apply pressure. I would go 3 big blinds here, try to give at least some pre-flop fold equity. And then we'd be blasting it. It's going to put your opponent in a very bad spot. Remember, 3 people in this game get paid. We're down to 7. So we're not really near the money or anything, so I think you can probably push it a little bit. Opponent checks flop. Easy bet with a gut shot. Just go 1 big blind. That's fine. And then keep barreling. Got to keep barreling. So the board is ace-5 to king. We have 9-3. This is definitely a scenario where when the turn's a king, your opponent's going to have a whole lot of like 5x and 2x. And you're going to be able to get them to fold that by the river. They could have an ace, of course, but a lot of people just raise their ace-x pre-flop. And if they do have an ace, a lot of people bet the ace on the flop. So you can start to discount the ace-x from the opponent's range. So I definitely like 3 big blinds on the turn and then like 10 big blinds on the river. River to 8 of hearts, your opponent checks, you bet 2.5. I'd probably go a little bit bigger. I would still bet if I happen to find myself in this scenario, but I think you're going to just have a lot more fold equity betting turn plus river. And the nice thing is that when you bet turn and the opponent calls and then they fold the river, you just win more money. Don't be afraid to bluff 3 times. We have a raise from the cutoff. We fold Queen Jack suited in the small blind. That's fine. One thing I've become very comfortable with over the last 8 weeks of playing online poker a ton. Well, I say a ton. I've played a whopping 8 sessions and we're up like 20K, so I guess that's okay. But I've been triple barreling a lot. I've been talking to some of the other poker coaching coaches. They've shared lots and lots of player pool data with me. And it basically confirms people fold too much on the turn and river. So realize you're going to lack pre-flop fold equity. You're going to lack flop fold equity. But when people get to the turn and river with junk, they usually fold way too often. Not always, but usually. And that's going to result in you winning lots and lots and lots of small and medium pots. Sometimes you lose big pots, but you're going to win lots and lots of small and medium pots, and that's just going to let you print money long term. So I've been bluffing way more recently than I have in the past. And to be fair, maybe I was like a little bit too straightforward, GTO-ish in the past. Yeah, now I just triple all the time. Jonathan Triple Barrel Little. You can just call me Triple. My name's Triple. All right, we raise, big blind calls, flop comes 8-6-2. This is another spot where in the past I would just continuation bet every time because I still think people fold too often. But this is obviously a board you have to be somewhat cautious on whenever you raise under the gun 7-handed and big blind calls because 8-6-2 nails big blind. I would probably still just bet king queen, and I'd be more inclined to check the ace high type stuff, but like whatever. The problem is you can't really call a turn bet with this king queen. The times you want to check back flop are when you have a hand that can call realistically on most turns. Like ace high can call on a lot of turns, not a 9 turn like it is here. But this is a spot where king queen has to fold on most turns, so I think you'd rather just bet it on the flop. Essentially calling it a draw if you're doing the poker coaching homework method. We have loads and loads of homework questions at poker coaching, by the way. Every month we do a new one where I ask you how to play your whole range. And right here, this is a spot where I would have bet the king queen effectively as a draw. Sundizzle, go to pokercoaching.com/summer. Check it out. If you ever have any questions about any of my content, by the way, just send us an email, support@pokercoaching.com. I have a great support team that'll get back to you quickly. All right, facing how much will we bet on the flop into the 5 big blind pot? I'd bet like 2 big blinds and go from there. Opponent bets 1 big blind on the turn. Brutal. I mean, I guess you got to fold. What bankroll adjustments do you need for higher variance games? You just need a bigger bankroll, right? Now, how much bigger? It depends on the variance in your specific game. Like, for example, if you're playing Pot Limit Omaha, you may need a 3 or 4 or 5 times the bankroll size for that game compared to No Limit Hold'em for the same stakes, right? For like regular sit-and-goes versus turbo sit-and-goes, I don't think it actually matters what the structure of the game is. What matters is what is your ROI in the game. I think that's the most important thing. Like say you have a 10% ROI in hyper turbos, who cares, right? Because you're really just buying into one event. And maybe you'll have like a bigger spread of results in the short term or something, but I don't think it matters all that much because if you're playing like a 9-person tournament, the spread just can't be that big. It's a little bit different if you're playing like a 1,000-person turbo tournament because then maybe the spread's bigger, but I don't think it actually matters. Or if it matters, it's negligible. If you have the same ROI in any form of tournament, any form of sit and go, any form of like low variance game like this, then it shouldn't matter a whole lot. Moobot says, Nate Daughtry subscribed 2 months in a row. Thank you, Nate. If you're watching this on Twitch, by the way, and you're an Amazon Prime member, you can subscribe to someone's Twitch channel for free for a month. Every month you can do it. That basically gives the streamer $2.50. You don't need to give it to me. Go give it to somebody else. But might as well use it. If it's free, and it helps out the streamers. Our folds test in the small blind, 9-7 offsuit. Big blind has 10 big blinds. He's very tight. I would definitely go all in. I like the all in. It's aggressive. It's wide. But this guy playing 9/7 in the big blind is very, very tight. He has ace jack. We lose. That's fine. So now we're down to 8 big blinds. Ace-6 suited on the button. Easy all in. Ace-3 offsuit in the cutoff. All right, everyone. I'm debating if we should get out ICMizer. This is going to make this webinar go much slower. But let's do it. This webinar. Is this a webinar? This is a little coffee. I can do whatever I want, right? Yesterday we did a webinar where I viewed hands for my $2,600 deep run. And I had to be finished in an hour. So I had like 15 hands to go over within an hour. And because Matt Affleck was going to be streaming live for the poker coaching members on the same YouTube channel. And I was like, oh no. Oh no, I'm going to run out of time. But I got it done. Let's see. I just need regular old sit and go. 9 max sit and go. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to enter all the stack sizes. This is a program called ICMizer. You can check it out at jonathanlittlepoker.com/ICM. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players remain. Blinds are, we'll call it 500, 1,000. That means we have 19,000 under the gun. I'm entering people's stack sizes. 31,000. Our stack's 10-5. 20,000. Okay, here we go. Yes, this pays the top 3. All right, so here we are the hero in the cutoff, and we click, I've entered the stacks, we click ICMize. Ignore that hand there, that hand doesn't matter. And now this will tell us which hands we can profitably go all in with, assuming the opponents call off optimally, okay? So in this scenario, notice ace-3 offsuits actually break even. So what does that mean? Well, that means we probably shouldn't shove this. Normally you want to take shoves that are like plus 0.03 of the prize pool or better. So like ace-4 offsuit is going to be a shove. Like king-5 suited would be a fold. King-6 suited is very close. 9-7 suited is a fold. 8-7 suited is a shove. But you see, like, ace-3 offsuit is very borderline. So the question then becomes, will these players behind call off optimally? And you should go through and look at this. Do you think this is what this guy's going to call off with, or is he going to call off a little bit wider? This probably looks about right. What about the small blind? This probably looks about right. What about the big blind? Sure. This all looks reasonable to me. Like, if one of these was... If you thought one player would be substantially looser, though, you can go through here and edit this. Like, let's say you think this guy is going to be calling off just a little bit more often with some ace-x, with some king-10, with some small pairs. You can click calculate, and then you can run it again. So we were pushing 30% of hands, and now we push 25% of hands if your opponents call off even a little bit looser, even with hands that we actually are in okay shape against, because they're basically flipping, right? So as you see here, that if your opponents call off a little bit, even like one person calls off a tiny bit looser, this becomes a fold with the ace-3. And I think that this is a fine spot to do this. To fold, I mean. So that's why I recommended not jamming the ace-3. We do get called. Spike an ace. We beat pocket tens. That's lucky. Yeah, if you want to look more into ICMizer, I have a few videos on YouTube. You can Google or YouTube Jonathan Little ICM. Also, you can get the program. I think you may get some discount or something at jonathanlittlepoker.com/ICM. That's an affiliate link, but you want to give me a few bucks and sign up for a program that'll help you learn how to play Sit&Go is great and Final Table is great. ICMizer is it. So check that out. Pocket tens, we min raise. Everybody folds. All right. Raise from the cutoff to 2 big blinds. We have queen 2 suited in the big blind. This is close. This is close. I would probably call, though. You really don't want to be folding these suited hands in general. Queen high is not great. Don't get me wrong, it's not great. But if it's suited, you got to call. Offsuit, I would fold. I think folding here is, again, too tight. So I would tell this player who sent in this hand history to be just a little bit looser defending from the big blind. I think that's going to work out a little bit better for you. You got to get in there and battle. You can't be too nitty. All right, limp, limp. Folds us in the small blind with 23 big blinds, 24 big blinds. The initial limper had 20. I'm sorry, initial limper had 18. Second limper had 20. Third limper had 16, 17. So this is a tough one. All that really matters here is the initial limper weak or perhaps strong? If the initial limper is strong, we should just limp. If you slotted me into this exact hand history and you told me this player limped under the gun who's playing 12/8, a nit limps, I don't think I'm jamming. Because I think it's somewhat likely this player is going to be trapping. The thing is like, whenever we do win this pot, who knows how often it's going to be, we're going to win this 5 big blind pot, which is great. But whenever we get it all in and get called, we're going to be very, very behind for all of our chips, or the majority of our chips. So I think I would just limp here. You feel like when you defend the big blind with trash, you have to punt post-flop. No, just play well. Understand a lot of the time, you just check, call, flop with a pair, check, check, turn, check, check, river, you win. You don't have to play big pots. Realize you're putting in 1 to win 5. You're putting in nothing to try to see the flop. Like, essentially nothing. We have tons of content at pokercoaching.com on defending the blinds well. I have a chapter in my newest book, Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games, by John Van Fleet, Ape Styles. He just took second in the $10,000 buy-in stadium series on PokerStars for a load of money. And he discusses... he has 2 chapters in the book, both on like blind play. So definitely check those out too. Now, to be fair, Speech War actually makes it very clear that it is important to know that if your opponent's just going to be triple barreling a lot, it is way more difficult to defend the blinds. But most people don't do that. What's the buy-in for this tournament? I don't know, and it doesn't matter. All that matters is how do the opponents play, right? Like, you can be playing a high-stakes game against fish, or you can be playing a small-stakes game against really good players, and the buy-in is effectively irrelevant. All right. Anyway, folds us here. I would probably just limp this, because when I see a 12/8 player limping from first position, I'm usually pretty nitty. That said, we are, first position 6-handed is not like it's super strong or anything. You want to come say hello? What are you doing? Bye-bye. There's Mr. James. He had some tongs. All right, so anyway, we jam, everybody folds, and that's a tough spot where like you definitely want to get experience in these games, because whenever you are playing against frequent limp or people who do limp, I would bet in a lot of games sometimes it's going to be just very weak across the board or very strong across the board for the most part. The thing is, it's obviously going to be weak more often than it's strong, but when it is, if it's strong decently often, you just have to be very cautious. What's my Twitch? Twitch.tv/Jonathan Little. All right, Jack 4 offsuit. We fold, fold, fold. All right, 5 people remaining. Pocket queens under the gun. Easy min raise. Everybody folds again. Every time I go to a different hand, it goes blank. I don't know why that's happening for all of you. I don't think there's anything I can do about that, though. It's okay. You'll survive. All right, we are now playing 5-handed. Cutoff raises to 2 big blinds. We have ace queen offsuit in the big blind. This opponent's playing 23/12. No 3-bets. Stealing normally. I think you can go either way between call and re-raise. You could even just rip it in. The hands like ace queen offsuit, ace king offsuit certainly don't mind just jamming. Same thing with the small and medium pairs. So we do decide to shove, and I think shoving's probably just right. It's definitely the easy play. Not that the easy play is the play that you should make, but I think it's fine to shove there. I think a lot of people don't shove for quite as many chips as they should shove. Some people only shove something like 20 big blinds or less there, but with your pretty good hands that are going to play pretty poorly out of position, poorly meaning like say you do call and you miss the flop and they bet, it's not great. Or say you 3-bet and they call and you miss the flop, it's not great. You can just jam and know you're making a profitable play. ShubyX with a prime sub. Thank you, ShubyX. Welcome. And the cutoff and button raise is better to 2 or 2.5 big blinds. 2 gives the blinds more incentive to call. Exactly, which is fine. You don't really care if your opponents see the flop. Everyone thinks the goal is to win the pot. That's not the goal. The goal is to win money. When your opponents defend with garbage out of position, they're going to end up check folding the flop, the turn, or the river way too often. The thing is, Marcus, a lot of people get afraid and they only bet the turn and the river with the nuts, which results in them just like never stealing the pot with their weaker hands. You got to be willing to bluff. You got to be willing to bluff. It's fine to fold bottom pair in a limp pot. I have no problem with that. Pocket jacks in the cutoff. We raise it up. Everybody folds. Man, everybody's tight in this game. Maybe you should just be raising more. We raise king queen from the hijack. Cutoff calls. Big blind calls. Flop comes jack 9-2. 2 spades. We have no spades. Both opponents have 15 big blinds or less. 15 and 11. I mean, I think I would just check this flop. It's very likely the cutoff connected pretty well with this. You can check call a small bet, I think. Would I bet the king of spades? I don't think so. I think I'm just checking everything. The problem with betting here in this scenario is that if you bet and get raised, it's miserably bad, right? Whereas if you check, you can very easily check call most bets, especially with the king of spades. Whenever you are playing shallow stack, you always want to ask, if I bet and get raised, is it awful? And the answer is yes, it is awful when you have king queen. Because when you have king queen on this board, you actually have a decent amount of equity. And you don't want to get bet off this hand. Should we jam the flop? Absolutely not. Jamming would be terrible. They're going to call you with a jack and nines and flush draws and all that, and that's not good for me. So I just check. So like right here, we check. Cutoff bets 2 big blinds into 7. We have an easy call now. Turns the king of spades. Great. So now it's not particularly the card we were looking for because we have top pair and we can't fold. When we check and the opponent bets 3.5 into 11 with 8 behind. Ugh, I guess it's an all-in. Very rarely do you like jamming in these spots, but you have to think here, if the opponent has any spade, you really don't want to let us see the river for cheap. If they do have like king 10, you just want to get it in immediately. If they have jack 10, you want to get it in immediately. Whenever they have you beat, you just lose. But notice you're going to lose anyway when they have you beat on blank rivers, right? Like say you call and the rivers are 3 of clubs, you always just pay them off. I think we probably got a jam here. I hate it, but I think we need to jam. River's a 10, we make a straight. That's lucky. Easy check on the river. Hope the opponent bluffs. Check, check though, so we're obviously going to win. Opponent had king jack. Wow, we were dead. Yeah, that's a tough spot. Apparently Kevin banned some trolls the other day when we were streaming. He told him this wasn't Mattisau stream. Yeah. What's your strategy in the early level of tournaments when people limp with garbage? See lots of flops and make the nuts and then put your money in. You went back to play small stakes games. You're winning very frequently. Should you keep grinding until you have a suitable bankroll? Yeah. Grind it up. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. I'll tell you all something I did back in the day. I was probably 19 years old, maybe 20, somewhere in there. And I just bought a condominium. Cost, I don't know, 115K or 130K or something. I don't even remember. And that took a lot of my bankroll. So I think I had like 200K to my name at that point. So I have whatever, call it 80K left. I went on something like a 40K downswing in the $200 Sit&Go's, which, you know, is within the realm of possibility. It's, you know, a big downswing, but normal. And what did I do? I was down to 40K in cash, roughly. Do we just keep playing the Sit&Go's with 200 buy-ins, or do we do something different? Well, what I did is we moved down. We moved down to the $10 games, and I decided I'm going to win 100 buy-ins at every single level to confirm I'm a winning player in these games. And it turns out it's not all that hard to win 100 buy-ins if you have a 10% ROI or more, like I probably did back then. So you play 1,000 games. Back then I could play about 100 games a day. So I would play roughly 100 games at every level. We won 100 buy-ins at every level, got all the way back to $200 games. So I was probably just running bad and maybe wasted some time. But we definitively confirmed that we were solid winning players in these games. And that it's very nice to know that you always have the ability to move down and just grind and make some amount of money. Maybe not as much as you'd like, but you can make some. And if you can find a level that you can just definitively beat because you put in a lot of volume, then you'll know. 200 buy-ins isn't a good bankroll strategy? Not for Sit&Go's. I mean, look, in Sit&Go's, you're going to have a low return on investment, right? It's very important to realize you're going to have a low return on investment in Sit&Go's because there's not a lot of time to extract value from your opponents, right? So you're essentially going to find that it's nice to know that you can sit down and grind it hard. On a scale of Helmuth to Dwan, how good am I at bluffing? Somewhere in the middle. When you try to bluff, your opponent ends up having the hand you're trying to represent. Oh, that's why it's important to have blockers, Marcus. You got to have blockers. If you block the hand your opponent could possibly have that you're trying to get them off of, well, then they can't have it, so it makes it way easier for them to fold. Blockers are very important. You don't bluff randomly and haphazardly. Ideally, you have some sort of blocker. All right. How old was I when I started? 18. We started $50, took it slow, played within our bankroll. I didn't ever really like the idea of losing all my money. That didn't seem like a fun time to me. So I always kept a big bankroll. Maybe too big of a bankroll. There were certainly times where I could have taken more shots or whatnot, but I didn't, and that's fine, right? Made it impossible to go broke, made it easy to have a long-term sustainable career with almost no risk. I probably should have taken slightly more risk, but I did not, and like, if that's my worst regret, that's A-okay. I actually did a little coffee. I think it was on, when was it? Was it Monday? Maybe last Friday? It was on my 5 biggest mistakes. And one of them was not changing games soon enough. But go back and watch it. I talk about the 5 biggest mistakes I've made. I don't know if they're actually the 5 biggest mistakes. I thought of them off the top of my head. They were 5 obvious mistakes I've made throughout my career. So check that out. I think that was a good episode of Little Coffee. If you like it, click like and share it. That would be very beneficial to me. You're blocked on YouTube chat. That means you couldn't ask Matt questions. Could I unblock you? I don't know how to unblock you. Why do you think you got blocked? I actually don't know how to unblock people on YouTube. If you know how to unblock people on YouTube, send me an email and give me directions for how to unblock people, and I will certainly do that. I don't want to mean to block anyone that we don't want blocked. You think it was accidental. YouTube is terrible. YouTube is terrible. Kevin says he was probably trolling. You know, if you catch us on the wrong day when you're trolling, you just might get banned. All right, here we have a min raise from the cutoff. Don't be offended. Don't be offended if you get banned. Understand, sometimes you catch Jonathan Little in a bad mood. And if you catch me in a bad mood and you say something that gets me going, just might get you. The other day, I banned someone because they asked the same question 3 times within like a 5-minute period. And I answered it 2 out of the 3 times. Third time, just like, whatever, you're out of here. So I banned him. Then they sent me an email in all caps. I can't believe you banned me. I'm a paying member. I didn't know you were on a delay with your cards face up. It's like, sorry. I mean, make a new name. Make a new screen name. You'll be all right. Okay. Quick question. This is not a quick question. If you're the pre-flop aggressor, small and big blind flats, and they choose to lead, what percent of the time are you raising with any 2 cards? That's not a quick question. Check out the Cash Game Masterclass at pokercoaching.com/summer. You can sign up, and we discuss that thoroughly. It depends on the opponent's leading strategy. If it's all nuts, obviously you never raise with nothing. If it's all garbage, you raise with nothing all the time, right? So it's not an easy question. I'm actually very sure I have classes on dealing with leads. If you're a Poker Coaching Premium member, just go to the Classes tab, search lead or maybe donk, and it'll come right up. All right, here we have a raise from Bio in the cutoff seat off 15 big blinds. The button calls with a 9 big blind stack or 11 big blind stack total. We have King Jack offsuit in the big blind. I think I'd probably call this. This is a scenario where I think you have to worry about the initial raiser off this 15 big blind stack having a good hand. You can run this spot in ICMizer too if you wanted to. You can give the players both ranges. Yeah, I don't know. Let's go through and play with it. I can go as long as I want today, I think. So let's see. We're down to 5 players. We are in the big blind. Let's enter some stack sizes. What are we looking at? This is ICMizer again. You can get it at jonathanlilpoker.com/ICM. So what we do is now we have to go through and enter the action. So the cutoff min raises. I'm not even sure if this is going to work. Cutoff min raises. Small blind calls. Now, what do we do? So we have to click ICMize. It's going to tell us something to do based on the hypothetical ranges. But now we have to figure out what is actually happening here. What is this guy actually raising in this scenario? Obviously, he's not raising this, right? So we need to go through and we need to give this player a reasonable raising strategy. Who knows what it actually looks like? But we have to give him something reasonable. Maybe he's raising the ace-x suited, ace-x offs as bluffs. How much is ICMizer? I don't know. Go to the site. Check it out. So let's click calculate. And if I jam, what's he going to call with out of this? This is probably reasonable, right? So I mean, we don't need to touch that. What's small blind calling with? Small blind calling a 2 big blind raise. Probably not all this stuff. You got to think. Remember, the small blind has like no chips. So you got to think small blind would jam a lot of these hands, right? So who knows what the small blind's actual calling range is? This is where it's a little bit of skill involved in trying to figure out exactly what range you're looking at. You got to think all these would just jam, right? Maybe he has these. Like, who knows what this guy's range is? It's so hard to really nail this down. And then we have to say what he would call with if I jam, and it's probably like none of this stuff, right? I mean, we're gonna have a lot of fold equity against this guy. Maybe he calls off the pairs, right? Maybe king, queen. Who knows? I mean, again, I don't know. This is all very hypothetical. Where can you get the ICMizer? JonathanLittlePoker.com/ICM. All right, so now we're gonna click ICMize, and it's gonna tell us what we should push. Woo! There you go. Very wide. Look at this, though. This is insane, right? So King Jack offsuit's a definitive shove if the opponents use this strategy, right? And in this scenario, you can even shove like 9-5 suited. Now, that doesn't mean it's the most profitable play. You should obviously call with some of these hands that are on the bottom of the shoving range because that's going to be probably more profitable than jamming. But King Jack offsuit seems like it's a pretty clear shove. So what did we perhaps do wrong? Maybe this guy's not raising. Oh, wait, why is this guy raising so wide? Oh, okay. I mean, is this 27% of hands? Yeah, okay. So maybe if this guy's not raising so wide, let's say he's not raising these. Let's try to run it again. So now we can only jam 33%, right? But even then, King Jack offsuit's still a shove. So King Jack offsuit seems to just be a shove here. I would have screwed this up in game. I probably would have flatted. I think I would have assumed the opponent's raising range was like somehow stronger than it actually is. This seems nuts. All this to try to realize 0.2 big blinds by shoving pre-flop. Remember, there's not much of an edge in sit-and-goes. Easy all in. We do get called. That's a bummer. We were against the kings. Well, let's go back in here and tinker with this a little bit more. Because now that we see the kings is in the min-raising range, maybe this guy's min-raising range doesn't contain stuff like these, because maybe he rips it in. Or these, maybe he rips it in. Or these, maybe he rips it in. Right? Or these, maybe he rips it in. So what if he's now raising only stuff like... I don't know, maybe like weaker stuff like this? If he's using a strategy like this, let's see what happens. We got to give him the calling range of only the nuts. Oh, come on. That's why I got to make sure you have to go through and click all of these to make sure you have it right. So now we click ICMIze. Oh boy, now hero can push nothing. So this is probably a situation that my default range, or my default brain was thinking, and I see like King Jack's a substantial error, right? Minus 1% of the prize pool, which is huge. Remember, like plus 0.04 is usually a spot you should probably take. That's a generalization, but whatever, it's close enough. In this scenario, you see King Jack offsuit would be horribly bad. And that's telling, right? The thing is, it's like kind of tough to know. So if the opponent's min-raising everything and has no jamming range, and then they're going to fold a lot of that, we have an easy shove with the King Jack. If the opponent's raising a very polarized range, mostly top-heavy, with mostly nut hands, it becomes a very easy fold. Well, at least not a shove. I still would have called. So it's important to analyze these spots, right? Hyper sit-and-goes are unbeatable. Well, that's factually untrue. I know a few people who make a living at them. They may be unbeatable for you. It's important to understand that just because they're unbeatable for you, and for most people, does not mean that they are unbeatable. Okay? Currently 5th in the bounty on GG. Poker coaching premium for the win. If you talk chat and nonsense in the YouTube chat, the mods will ban you. We have zero patience. Where J Triple has plenty. I really don't have that much patience. Oh, that's why I got to disconnect for a month and just go play some poker and chill. All right, 9-6 suited on the button. As a medium stack, this is an easy fold. Take a look at this scenario now. We're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-handed. There are 2 7 big blind stacks. You don't want to play any pots as the medium stack. You just have to be very tight here. As the medium stack on the bubble or near bubble, you got to be snug. Here's another spot where we could conceivably jam very wide. Like I'm sure you could set this up in ICMizer somehow. You can configure it to where this would just be an automatic shove like that King Jack offsuit a second ago, or it could be an automatic fold like the King Jack offsuit a second ago. I think in general you probably just want to fold, but I could get behind calling. You have to understand, when you call here, your opponent just can't be too insane because they have to worry about busting for these 2 shallow stacks. But, you know, whatever. Okay, I can be fine with that. Here we shove small blind into the tight big blind. Easy shove with probably any 2 cards there. You can run that through ICMizer if you want. Blinds went up. 2 shorties now have 3 big blinds. So now we're just really going to hang out. We have 11. Small blind limps, we have ace-6 offsuit in the big blind. I would definitely jam. I mean, yeah, you're going to get called sometimes, but I think it's okay. Want to come say hello? No, not today? Okay, bye. We do limp, get called. 9-7 offsuit, brutal. Is this a final table? Well, it's the final table of this 1 table sit and go. 3 people get paid, and the other 2 people get nothing. I like the jam with the a6 offsuit. No, don't do that. We're in a show. Shh. You want to come say hello? All right. What do you think about $5,000 and buy and high stakes games? Are they profitable in 2020? Depends on who you're playing against. $5,000 sit and goes probably aren't. You meant it the micros. The rake is too big. Again, daff. All it takes to beat a game is bad players. Now, if the players are all good, no game is beatable. That's just how it works. If everybody's good, no game is beatable. If the rake is too high to the point that it makes everyone have no edge, then their game's unbeatable. Don't go around saying things like this game's unbeatable, because that's just never true. It depends on who's playing the game. You have to give parameters, right? Like, okay, my opponents are all pretty good at sit and goes. And you have to give parameters like the rake is substantially high. Perhaps the highest ROI you could even achieve, given the structure of this game, is 7%, and they rake away 6%, so you're making 1%. Also, don't forget, you get rake back, right? So if you're getting rake back for 2 or 3% of that, then you're getting 2 or 3% rake back plus 1% ROI. All right, so now we're getting 3% out the door. Say we're getting 3% out the door, and we can invest how much per hour? $100 an hour? Means you're making $3 an hour. It's not so bad. So you can invest $5,000 in an hour. Now you're making $150 an hour. It's not so bad, right? Anyway, I'm fine with this jam. I think this limp call-off's pretty bad with a 9-7. He would definitely just prefer to shove from the small blind with 9-7 offsuit. You definitely don't want to be limp calling it off because then you just have no fold equity. That's a very, very bad play by the opponent. All right, we're down to 5 big blinds. 6-2 offsuit in the small blind, I would just fold as well. Queen 4 offsuit on the button, I would be all in. Easy all in. It looks like we're going to spike against the small blind's ace-6 offsuit, which is fine. You want to ICMize this one too? We'll do it. We have 8.5, 12, 5, 5, 28. 8.5, 12, 5, 5, 28. 8.5, 5. Oh, God, I already forgot. 8.5, 12. All right. So now we want to go over here, click right here because we're the hero, click ICMize. This is our GTO strategy to jam 35%. Queen 4 suited actually is still a fold, which is kind of crazy to me. I would overshove in that spot. You see ace-6 offsuit's definitely a fold for the opponent. Easy fold for the opponent. If we shove wider, let's see, because I do think we should probably shove a little bit wider than this against most people because I think they're going to call off a little bit too tight. Say we shove roughly this on the button in this scenario. Also notice if we don't shove this spot, we kind of like lose our fold equity for the future. You'll see this guy's calling range should get wider. Is it going to freeze on me? There it goes. So ace-6 offsuit becomes a barely profitable call. So you can go either way. ICM can be rendered bad if your opponents don't respect it. Understand, Daff. You have to input the correct ranges for your opponent. This is like when people say that solvers are not useful because your opponents don't play GTO. Well, obviously they don't. That's why you have to adjust their strategy and node lock for it, right? Like what we just did there, right? We entered a different strategy for us, but I think we're probably playing differently. And that will let you know what plays you should be making. It's not as easy as put it in ICMizer and use the default strategy. That's how you, I mean, that's just not smart, right? You have to make sure that you understand how to adjust the strategy accordingly. It's very important at poker. Is Equilab or ICMizer better? Do they show different? I mean, ICMizer is a very different program. ICMizer shows ICM adjusted decisions, right? That's not what Equilab does at all. Also, Equilab's free. ICMizer costs some money. Queen 10 suited in small blind, easy shove. Opponent has 2 big blinds. He has to call with any 2 cards there, I think. Because he has like literally no chips. He's going to blind out. Pocket 8s, 11 big blinds. Oh my God. Facing an under the gun limp for 9 big blinds. This is weird. I have no idea what the right play is here. So let me lay this out for people listening to this. Under the gun limps off of a 10 big blind stack. Well, hijack seat limps. We're in the cutoff with 11. Small blind has 1 big blind. Big blind has 30. I'm sorry, big blind has 30, small blind has 6. I think this is probably a shove because, and only because, the initial limper is playing a 29/9 strategy, which makes me think his limping range is probably very wide. Remember though, this is the same guy who just limp called it off with 9-7 offsuit, which means if he has the Jack 10, he might just limp call it off, which would be a disaster. So we're definitely not folding. I want to make that clear. We keep saying all in or fold. It's not an all in or fold. We definitely could call. Calling is certainly viable. Okay? Calling is viable. You see the flop most of the time. What's going to happen is you're going to call. Big blind's going to go all in for 1 big blind. Small blind's going to call. I'm sorry. Button's going to go all in for 1 big blind. Small blind's going to call. Big blind's going to check. We're going to see a flop with 8s. So this is a spot where I definitely think calling is viable. And if you want to be cautious, I think calling is the right play. Because, look, right here, you really just don't want to get it all in and get called. If we get all in and get called by the initial limper, it's just so bad for us. It's so bad for us. So I think I'd probably limp. I think I'd limp the majority of the time, actually, because if this initial limper ever calls us off, it's so bad. Anyway, this is a good result. We jams, button calls, and now we just get it all in. So we lose a flip. Have you ever considered doing a bankroll challenge? Oh, yes, I did that a long time ago, and I started with $50 and ran it up to a few million. And then I also did it a few years ago when I started with $300 for fun, and I tripled it, playing 1 hour a week for about a year. That was not fun. I did not enjoy that. That just felt like a pure waste of time because I already had plenty of money. So do we need to do it again? What's the point? I've already done it twice. All right, King 9 offsuit. Under the gun, still five-handed. It's probably a fold if we just straight ICMize it. Let's go through 10, 5, 35, 10. 10. 10, 5, 35. Okay, under the gun. That's going to be a fold. Yep, King 9 offsuit's a fold if the opponents call well enough. What's the summer sale? Go to pokercoaching.com/summer and you'll see. Basically, we're giving you nice discounts on all of my work, which is a lot of it. So anyway, King 9 does fold here. And the reason we're folding is because there are two people with 5 big blinds. If there were not two people with 5 big blinds, we'd be way more inclined to get in there. Oh boy. Let's run in this one now. We have 5, 30, 10, 4, 9. 5, 30, 10, 4, 9. All right. We are here. This guy goes all in. ICMize it. It's probably a fold because the two shallow stacks. Hero calls off. Ace-Jack offsuit and better. Ace-Jack offsuit's break even. Assuming the cutoff's jamming 69% of hands. Okay? If he's jamming all of this, Ace-Jack offsuit's a fold. What if he's not jamming all this? What if he's actually much tighter? Because so far he seemed to be reasonable. Let's suppose he's... and who knows what he's actually doing, right? But let's just suppose he's doing this. You see, now we should call off even tighter, right? So like now ace-10 offsuit is a really easy fold. It loses a lot of money by calling with ace-10 offsuit. So this is a fold. Good fold. These are just all folds. All right, now we're four-handed, and we are now the short stack. We have 7.5 big blinds. Ace, queen offsuit, easy all in. All right, now we have this similar spot. Our stacks are 31. We'll just call it 8, 9, 8, 10, 8. 31, 8, 10, 8. 4 players left. We got to call off pretty tight here too, I think. This is actually a pretty crappy spot where, I was going to say it's probably pretty, it's a rough spot, right? Like, and you see ace-8 suited is barely a call if he's jamming any 2 cards. So if he's jamming any 2 cards, ace-8 suited is a call. What if he's not quite jamming any 2 cards? As you see, any 2 cards is very profitable for the opponent. 3-2 offsuit was 0.16 of the prize pool, which is just a ton. Poker coaching should work in all browsers, as far as I know. It's all just like video based. So if your program can, if your browser can run videos, it should be fine. We also have an app. We're going to be adding the classes, courses, etc., to the app very, very soon. Make sure you get the app. Just search Poker Coaching in the App Store. All right, so now if he's jamming only 80% of hands, you see ace-8 suited is a fold. So this is either a marginally profitable call or a very easy fold. And in this scenario, I tend to make the fold. But hero does call. I think that's fine. Because, I mean, again, like, right, if we think this guy is reasonable and good, probably is, you probably just got to make the call off here, but it's definitely close. We beat the king 10 offsuit. And when we see king 10 offsuit here, it's actually like not good, right? Like we want the opponent to be bluffing here a lot. And like you want to see the opponent show up with like 7-4 offsuit or something. What's the name of the new book? Excelling at Tough No-Limit Hold'em Games. Here it is. Excelling at Tough No-Limit Hold'em Games. These three guys right here. Look at this quadrant. You see these three guys in the corner? This one here is Ape Styles. He took second in the $10,000 tournament on Stars the other day. This one here is Giraffe Ganger. He took ninth in the $10,000 tournament. He's actually going to be streaming for all of you on Friday. Giraffe Ganger is going to be, he is the newest poker coaching coach. This guy down here, Vlada, he chopped the $5,000 freeze out for $500K the other day. So these three guys have cashed for like $1 million in the last 3 days. How cool is that? Ship it. And their chapters are all really, really good. Anyway, Draft Ganger is going to be streaming for you. Did you know he's the #1 player of the year a year or two ago? He should be streaming for us on Friday. When's Friday? Is that today? No, today's Wednesday. Don't even know the days of the week. He's streaming for you all on Friday, so check it out if you're a poker coaching member. He does not stream publicly, only privately. What channel will he stream from? The private link we're going to give you. It's only for poker coaching members. We've been having Faraz Jaka stream for us privately. Matt Affleck streamed yesterday. That was great. Draft Ganger streaming. I've been streaming privately for the members. We're adding loads and loads of value. When is this book available? I heard that it should ship at the end of the month. I don't know why it's taking so long. Because I have it sitting in my hands right now. Check it out, dnbpoker.com. Matt Affleck was great last night. Yeah, Matt Affleck is fantastic. Stefan's pre-ordered it. Congrats. Nice. All right, so we got a double. Let's take a look at this spot now. Blinds are now, 8, 9, 20, 21. I just want to look at something. What do you guys think we should jam with from the small blind when they fold to us? Which hands do you think we should shove? A lot or a little? Whenever we have roughly the same stack as the big stack and there are two shallow stacks. Take a second, think about it. Assuming the opponent calls off appropriately. What's happening? Did the program mess up? Let's try again. Don't mess up, program. This is not a good advertisement for you. Matt had a nice long stream. He took time to answer every question. He had a really good time. Good, good. Is this thing going to freeze? We'll load it up again. It's important to realize when you're using programs that are not made by billion-dollar companies, sometimes they don't function properly all the time. So just reset it, move on. Hold'em Manager messes up sometimes. Poker Tracker messes up sometimes. Oh goodness, those illegal gambling sites mess up all the time. Did you all watch my stream the other day? The thing was like, I was getting disconnected left and right. You know, you just got to chill and enjoy it. Which is better for high volume grinders, rakeback or VIP programs on some of these sites let you opt into one or the other? I don't know. I'm not a high volume grinder. I play 1 day a week, so you always just want the rakeback. As you see here, if you shove optimally and the opponent calls optimally, you should be shoving any two cards in the spot. All of them. 4-3 offsuit. Our hand here is plus 0.49 of the big blind. That's a lot. I'm sorry, 4.49 of the prize pool. That is a ton. So this is a very, very easy spot to jam, and the opponent's supposed to call off really tight. You think he's only going to call off with 8s or better and aces on the bubble? Probably not. So this is where it's important to make sure you use your skills, right? What's this guy actually going to call off with? Let's make it slightly wider. How much tighter do you think we're going to have to jam if he's calling off ace-jack or better, ace-10 suited or better, and 6s or better? It's obviously not. I don't think it's going to be any 2. I say obviously. I might be proven wrong. I think we're going to be a decent amount tighter, though. We were at 100. Now we're at 17. Now we can only jam 17% of hands, making 4-3 offsuit a huge loser. Huge loser. So you see, this is where it's very important to know your opponent's skill level, right? And very important to see what they are doing. And if you don't sit around and use these programs, you would just be stuck guessing. And the thing is almost everyone doesn't do this work. I was very fortunate that I started with Sit&Go's, and I did this work every day for many, many years. 3 years, I literally sat in my room, I would play for 4 hours, and I would study for 2. Then I'd play for 4 more hours, and I'd study for 2. And did that every day for 1,000 days. And it turns out if you do that every day for 1,000 days, you start to figure this out. You start to see the same patterns. Back in the day, I had a crappy program. ICMIzer was a million times better than what I'd used back in the day. But anyway, 4-3 offsuit. I would probably fold this. But I definitely do think this is a spot where if you know the opponent is ICM aware, like if this is a good reg, I definitely like jamming. And the thing is, like, also, not really computed in ICMizer is that if you jam this, you're now the chip leader, and you can jam the next hand to the next hand to the next hand. Whereas if we fold this, like we do, now notice this guy has 22 big blinds to our 19 big blinds. So now we have to play a little bit tighter as well. Like right now, if we had 22 and the small blind had 19 and the big blind had 7, we could jam this. But now we have to be tight. I mean, I don't know. Let's just go through here and see if I can input this. We're on the button. Stacks are 9. So in this scenario, notice we can jam 39% of hands, which is, you know, some. But let's swap these stacks around. So we can jam 39% in the current scenario. If we had 22 to our opponent's 19, we can now jam 67. So we get to jam like 2 times as many hands profitably if the stacks were just reversed. So you see, like that's substantial. That really is substantial. So maybe it is just worth taking that exact spot with the 4-3 offsuit so that we get the next spot and the next spot and the next spot, because we have to fold this hand now, whereas we could have jammed it. Then on the next hand, same story, right? If it was 22 to 19, we could still jam much wider on this hand too. So this is a spot where like ICM may not quite apply perfectly. It's important to understand the limitations of ICM. Funny enough, remember Vlada, who, this guy right here, the guy who won, well, chopped the $5,000 freeze out yesterday for $500,000. Well, I guess it was 2 days ago now. His chapter's on ICM. Literally straight ICM. And it is a good chapter. Oh my God, it's a good chapter. I learned a lot from it. And I know a lot about ICM. I learned a lot about post-flop ICM from him because, let's see, page 240. He goes through lots and lots of charts. You see all these PIO charts explaining like how various ranges should play against each other in deep stacked final table scenarios. Let's see what's on this page. Anyway, lots and lots of range analysis by Vlada. It's good. It's really good. How big of a mistake is it to remove the bottom of your range under 0.1 big blind? This is not showing 0.1 big blind. This is showing percentage of the prize pool. I already said that you want to be removing like 0.04 and smaller for the most part. All right, we're finally three-handed. Good Lord, this is taking forever. All right, so now we're playing 20 big blinds deep with everybody. We rip it in with the ace-5 offsuit, which is going to be fine. Small blind limps, we have 10-9 suited. We can check or raise, either play is okay. Flop comes 8-6-2. He bets 1. I will float. Turns a 4 of hearts. He bets 1.4. What kind of book is that? This is called a physical book. It's made out of paper. Look, this is paper. I know it's not on an iPad or a phone or an audio format yet. This is made of paper, and this is how books were made back in the day. This is how old people read books because they don't like the shimmer of the iPad. And it turns out I'm old, and I like to be able to flip back and forth. I like to be able to highlight and reference my work in the future. I like to be able to fold down the pages. So this is the kind of, I mean, I guess a lot of people just look at this and think it's a doorstop. But this is called a physical book made of paper. They have to kill trees to make this. This is called Excelling at Tough No-Limit Hold'em Games. So there you go. All right. Small blind then bets 1.5 into 4.5 on the turn. We have a flush draw and a gut shot and 2 overcards. I mean, I would just call again, I guess. River's a king. If he checks, I would bet big. Not 3.3. I would bet big. Where do you buy it? Amazon or dnbpoker.com? I hate this 3 big blind bet on the river. This is a terrible bet. In this scenario on the river, you just got to bet big. You're trying to get an 8 to fold, okay? How much is it going to take to get an 8 to fold? The answer is all in. Or you're trying to get like ace high to fold. You're about halfway through this book. This book has not been released yet. You're thinking of the other one, I think. There's a precursor to this book called Excelling at No Limit Hold'em. That's different. Let me tell you a slight error we made. I'll show you. Oh, the pains of publishing physical books. Can you tell the difference? I can, but you probably can't. Can you tell the difference in these two books? Yeah, yeah. They're different. But to the passive observer, they look the same. We're probably going to go back and change this one to have a blue cover at some point in the future. One's higher gloss. Yeah, exactly. Will the new book have webinars? No, but we're hiring a bunch of these coaches to make content for pokercoaching.com, ideally. For example, Draft Ganger, Bert Stevens, he's going to be streaming for the Poker Coaching members on Friday. Last time I watched him stream, he streamed privately for the Pokar backing group. All these coaches are players and or coaches for Pokar.com. It's a backing group that I'm an advisor for. He did a private stream for the backies there. He was streaming a W Coupe tournament, and he won. He just sat down, played all day, played 12 hours, won the tournament. So good job to him. Anyway, on the river, I think this is a tough one because if you're against a lot of eights, they're just never folding. But I think you do want to bet. I think maybe this bet size isn't so bad. Maybe I would go 2 big blinds to try to get the ace high to fold, but no pairs ever folding here. Is Rob still involved in Pokar? Yes. He is one of the main managers. Rob Tenyon won the Sunday Million 2 times. He was a Pokar backee back in the day. Won the Sunday Million twice. Took on a bigger role at Pokar. Hasn't played a ton recently, but he makes the company run. Turns out making the company run is very, very important. All right, small blind, 3-handed, 10-3 suited. Let's see if we can put this one ICMizer. Stacks are 21, 9, and 14. 21, 9. By the way, under the gun here should probably jam really wide. 50% of hands, right? Anyway, we're in small blind. We should jam 63% of hands. 10-3 suit is barely profitable. I would probably jam this one and just take this spot. Once you get down shallower and shallower, you generally need to take whatever spot you can, I think. To be evaluated for backing, would Pokar be the appropriate place for a new backer relationship evaluation? I'm not exactly sure what you're saying. They turn down a lot of people that apply because they can be selective. That said, yeah, apply. See what happens. If you're American, they're not going to take it because they need you to be able to put in volume on legitimate poker sites and aren't going to run off with your money. But you should apply. They're making great players. Draft Ganger, the guy who's was the number 1 player in the world, he started off as a backee. And now he's number 1 player in the world playing $10,000 buy-in tournaments and poker coaching coach starting Friday. So, you can get in there and crush it. All right. Button jams. We have 10 big blinds with ace 8 of hearts. This is just a call. Reluctant call, but this is a call. Opponent has king jack and we win, so that's good. There are some backing stables that accept American players. Definitely check it out. Is a Sit&Go book from 10 years ago still relevant? Probably not. I don't know. I can't recall exactly what it says. Got to be careful with anything written a long time ago that was not meant to be very GTO. Again, I don't recall the book perfectly or anything, but Colin makes good content, so maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. You have to be discerning to read things. Like, for example, I'm going back and rewriting my first tournament book. I tried doing it on stream the other day, but the chat was going off, so I didn't really get to write a whole lot. But everything in that book was pretty close to right. I just didn't know why it was right. It was right, but I didn't know why. Now I know why it's right. And there were a few things that were not so right, or a few things that were very exploitative. All right, let's take a look at this spot. 7 big blinds, button, 23 for us, 14 for the big blinds. 7, 23, 14. It's probably going to be a very wide jam spot. Any 2 cards, 100% of hands. Opponent's supposed to call off with 18% as well, which is kind of wide. So, let's make this slightly worse for me. See if we can jam. If we can get ourselves to have to jam a little bit tighter. Is he really calling off any tighter than this? Probably not. Or any looser than this. Kind of hard to conceive even calling off any looser than this. Now we get to jam 81% of hands. What do we have? Jack 2 suited? Is that what I had? Anyway, every suited hand's profitable to shove. Jack 10 offsuit. Jack 10 offsuit's close. So barely a losing play if he calls off looser than GTO. So I would probably just rip this in. I think this is a mistake too. Anytime you're in this scenario where you have the big stack against medium stack and then there's a small stack that's already folded, this is a great spot to go pretty wide. Min raise the aces, get jammed on easy call. We win. Heads up. Opponent has 5 big blinds. They jam. Call it off with a queen 3. We win. Tournament's over. Nice. So this was a fine sit and go review. I think we've spotted a few things that our student here did wrong. A few spots where he could have shoved. A few spots where I'm not in love with the bet sizes, but all in all, nice solid hand history. Speaking of bad beats, nobody cares about bad beats here. I was reading Maria Konikova's book, The Biggest Bluff, which is great. Definitely suggest you check it out if you like poker and stories related to poker and Vegas and gambling and all that. And she said that one of her first times she was talking with Eric Seidel after she'd been playing some, she came up and started telling some bad beats. And he asked, what is the question you have about this hand? And she's like, oh, I don't really have a question. He's like, then it doesn't matter and forget about it. Right? Which is true. If you don't have any question, you just want to complain. I'm not sure if that's what the moderators are for, but that might be what the moderators are for. It's not what the moderators are for. Don't ban people for telling bad beats. We have to educate the people so that they stop worrying about nonsense. Stop worrying about nonsense, please. You're wasting my time, your time, and your life worrying about things that are completely out of your control. Eric Seidel told her, never tell me what happens in a hand after there's no more action. So if you get it all in on the flop, hand's over. I don't care about the results. Which is how you should think about it, right? And that's great. He wasn't complaining, you were explaining. Don't worry, you don't have to explain anything to me. I understand a lot of stuff. Practical tips for satellite bubbles. Play tight. Excelling at No Limit Hold'em. There's a chapter in this book by Bernard Lee on satellites. A lot of people want to make you think satellites are some incredibly difficult, strenuous skill testing format of poker. Really, they're pretty easy. Bernard Lee distills it down to the points that matter. So check that out. Found herself in the spot. Final table, 3K tournament. Oh, 3,000 people played. You're sitting in third in chips, 34 blinds, blah, 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 blah. You got aces. Guy in second position min raises. You 3-bet to 7. It comes king 7 3 all spades. You have no spade. He checks. You had no idea what to do, so you shoved. Don't shove. Again, I don't care about your bad beat. I don't care about your bad beat. Did you not hear what I just said? Come on, come on. Is jamming for a huge amount the right play? Probably not. All right, well, hope you all enjoyed this today. If you like me reviewing hand histories, let me know. I'm happy to. If you have any questions or things you'd like me to review on a little coffee, let me know. I tend to reserve the very high-level, nitty-gritty strategy stuff for the poker coaching webinars and classes that I do because those usually require a bunch of preparation and you need to make sure whatever you tell me to do for a little coffee, I can roll out of bed, have 5 minutes to prepare and do it. For example, this guy sent me the hand history, said, we review this for a little coffee. We all want Sit and Go content here, so let's do it. It required me to roll out of bed and do that. So, there you go. Speaking of Sit and Go's, this is my poker video vault where we teach 2 players Sit and Go's still good. Probably. I haven't watched it in a while. That's a little bit dated. The video vault is a little bit dated, so I'm not entirely sure. Don't want to tell you bad information, right? A lot of people say, oh yeah, everything I make is great. I haven't watched that in a long time, so I'm not sure. That said, me coaching students privately is always a usually pretty reasonable thing. Finished the cash game challenge yesterday. Congrats. Good job, Tyler. I'm glad to hear it. If you're a poker coaching member, poker coaching premium member, definitely go through all of the challenges. That will go a long way to helping you get better because we give you something to do every single day. It takes maybe 30 minutes to an hour to help you get good at poker. What do you think about good players? I think they're good. What do you mean? You got your first month of poker coaching standard for $10. Nice. Think of the value. 30 cents a day. If you can't put 30 cents a day towards your poker education, poker may not be for you. Is it annoying when people talk about hands where they got very unlucky? Yes, it is annoying. And it's irrelevant. It confirms a bad mindset. You need to worry about the things under your control. If it's not under your control, forget about it. Binky Winks, one of James Romero's new horses. Hello, hello. I heard he started backing a few poker coaching members. I'm glad to hear that. And he said He showed me the graph of one of the guys. I'm not sure who it was, but their graph was like break even, sign up for poker coaching, start spiking, sign up with James Romero, up infinite. That's fantastic. Am I streaming Sunday? No, so this is actually going to be my last little coffee for a little while, probably 3 weeks or something like that. And I'm not going to be streaming for the next few weeks. We have other coaches lined up to stream on many of the days. For example, Draft Danger streaming Friday. Last night, Matt Affleck streaming. I know Faraz is going to be streaming at some point. So we have a bunch of other people streaming lined up. I've had horrible luck streaming when I'm traveling abroad. And it's just like not even worth it. At some point, you got to detach a little bit and get some free time away from everything. Where are we off to? Cabo. World Series of Poker Europe. Is it Europe? Might as well be World Series of Poker Europe time. All right. Hope you all have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. Make the most of your experience. Have fun. And focus on the things you can control. I appreciate all of you. If you like this content and you like my work, check out pokercoaching.com/summer. If you're not already a poker coaching member, if you're a poker coaching member, keep using the site. And also, please give us feedback. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. If you don't like a coach and you have good reasons for it, let us know. If you love a coach and you want more content from them, let us know. Because, I know what I like, but I don't necessarily know what you like. So how do I know what you like? You got to tell me. So talk to us. We love to hear from you. Thanks again for everyone. I hope you all have a great, great day as there's Sit&Go content on poker coaching. I know there's something I made in the past called the SNG series. I don't know if it's how I would play today. I haven't watched it in a while. That's an older course. Check that out. SNGseries.com, I think, is the URL. Before you buy it, send us an email. How hard was it to get GG paperwork taken care of? It was very easy. GG is very easy. That's going to be it for today. Hope you have a great day. Hope you make the most of your experience. I really do love all of you, and I appreciate all of you. And we work hard for all of you, and I know that you're all working hard to improve your lives, and that makes me very, very happy. Thanks again. Click like, click subscribe. Check out pokercoaching.com/summer to get the best deals on poker coaching you're going to get in quite a while. And I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.